Wins podcast. This is our first episode of this subset of the podcast. I'm your host, Victor Dwyer, and today we have Jana, and we're going to basically talk about some failures and wins she went through, and then we're going to dive into some Amazon international marketplaces, how to get in them, what are the best practices, and she's also going to tell us a little bit about her story, how she got to where she is, because everyone has a little unique story of how they got to where they are. And we're going to dive through that today. So, Jana, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you so much for having me. As you said, my name is Jana. I don't pronounce my last name because it's very difficult, but it's Krekic for anyone who wants to know. I'm the owner of Wild Translations. We are basically the biggest Amazon dedicated localization translation agency out there, and we've been around for 3.5 years. And yes, I did not have a like. I didn't know that I was going to be an entrepreneur basically up until about 4 or 5 years ago. So I was not the one that I was like 20 years old, like building companies and all of that. I want to become a serial entrepreneur. That is my goal right now. But it's been a crazy journey, and I'm really glad I got to experience this to be a business owner.
Yeah.
So that's it. I have background in languages. I went to school, studied languages and literature, and then after that, I got a really great opportunity to work in one of the biggest e-commerces in Europe. And I've worked there for 8 years, and this is where I've learned tons of things, how to build your e-commerce store from scratch. This is how I got to know more about Amazon. I applied a couple of strategies. They worked. They had horrible content. I hired some of the people from the call center who are natives to redo the content that resulted in more impressions and click-through rates. And I thought it was a very interesting niche and business model. And then after that, I quit my job, and I was like, okay, so I think I should, start like a translation agency or something like that connected with e-commerce, since I knew a lot about e-commerce and languages. And then eventually we just niched down to Amazon only. So what happened is like our homepage was wildtranslation.com, and it was getting a lot of traffic, but we were offering e-commerce solutions, Shopify, tons of other things, all e-commerce related. And then I decided to migrate that website to .net and then leave the wildtea.com as an Amazon dedicated website, because people were like, how do we know you're experts? You have like different things that you do. So we just niche down. And I didn't know at that point if this is going to be like a big hit or miss, as your podcast says, like a failure or win.
Yeah.
And then it ended up to be a really good idea. And so here we are today, 82 people, just,
That's awesome.
growing every month basically. And I couldn't be happier, really.
That's great. And I imagine that saved you a lot of operational when you try to do so many different things, you become kind of like halfway on all of them. And when you
Yeah.
niche down, yes, that's a very big risk. But I mean, as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, you have to be willing to take those
You have to.
risks.
Yeah.
So, what was going through your mind when you kind of took that first step, saying, "Okay, I'm going to try to go all in on this translation thing and see how that goes." Did you like double down on employees? Did you start pitching that only to clients? Like, what was that risk, that jump that you took to kind of get to that level?
Yeah, I just kind of felt like, I just kind of followed my gut. There's like no, like, I didn't have a strategy or anything I can tell you, like, no, because I read this or I've heard that. No, it was just my guts. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna risk it.
Yeah.
That's not in my nature. I don't do a lot of risking. Like up at that point, I did not do a lot of risk. That was not a risk taker and would not change my life overnight. But it just kind of felt like I should do that. So what I did is I pitched only that to the clients. I was
That's
like, you
great.
know what? We niche down to Amazon only, and I could train all like the whole team. At that point, there was like 3, 4 of us, like part-time people, only like contractors,
Mhm.
and I trained all of them, and I was basically doing everything from sales to emails, clients, customer support, delegating, team leading, everything.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I think the game changer was definitely that I was just pitching that service and making us like one of a kind. Even though we had at that point we were not that well known, and we had other competitors which were there much longer and they were much bigger than us. But I was like, I'm just gonna keep doing it and keep on
Mhm.
pushing it. And then, like when people say no, I'm gonna come back and come back and come back. And
Mhm.
this is what I've learned from, spending time in the States and, just I'm from Europe, and that's like, especially Serbia, where I'm born and raised. You don't have that mentality of like, when people say no, you come back and you knock on the door. Literally, like when people say no to you, just go and hide because you're embarrassed. That's I've I've seen happens in my home country.
Mhm.
But basically, I would say that perseverance and just pitching that as our prime service.
Mhm.
We kept on doing other things, but this became our like prime service, and I was just pitching that as much as possible. I think that was the biggest game changer for us.
What kind of entrepreneur are you? I'm very curious. So some entrepreneurs are all operations. Some want to focus in sales, and like they go based off what they enjoy and they hire out the rest. So you said like
Yeah.
every entrepreneur does everything at one point. Like that's
Yes.
kind of like
Yes.
a have to.
It has to be
But
like that. Yeah.
what I'm curious, what type of entrepreneur are you? What do you enjoy the most right now that you're like, oh, I love talking to people, I love sales, or do you love the operations? I'm curious, what type of entrepreneur are you?
So I would say talking to people and operations are my top two favorite things.
Mhm.
But I would say that, I've optimized my business a lot. So I don't have to like work in the business, I work on the business. So
Got
I
it.
have people, they take care of that for me, but I enjoy building procedures and operations and all the OKRs, all of that. I enjoy that. But
That's
I would
awesome.
say that number one is probably talking to people. I enjoy going to events, speaking at the conferences, meeting my clients face to face. So I would say sales, which is both good and bad because I should also delegate it to somebody else. But I really enjoy doing sales, and I think I've become good at that. And it's kind of hard to find a really good person for sales because sales is so important for your company, and everything else you can delegate, and then if things get done, that's good enough. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be perfect. Nobody's going to be like nobody's going to replace you and have your capabilities, but if things get done, that's just that's good enough for me. But
And
sales, I think, will be the biggest
at
challenge for me to
at
find
some
someone. Yeah.
level, no one's gonna have your level of passion toward your
Passion,
business.
exactly.
And
No.
unless they
Yeah.
are very motivated salespeople, meaning
Yes.
that if they're very passionate about what they do, like for example, if you get a salesperson that really likes talking to people, they're going to be very passionate because they're going to naturally love what they do. But if
Yeah.
you throw, for example, a developer that has a math brain, they're not going to like to talk to people. You might get
No,
one text
absolutely.
message out of
No,
them. That's about it.
absolutely not. And
Mhm.
what I've seen also that a lot of people make a mistake with is that they would hire someone from their own team. Let's say you have like a PM or you have somebody else, and then you're like, wow, he's great at like, he's a people's person. He talks to a lot of people like from our team, and then you put him to be like your salesperson. And that's not good.
Mhm.
Like I've tried to build something out of other people from my team, and that turned out to be a disaster. So what I've learned is that if you want to hire a good PM or a salesperson or accountant, or you just hire people from those niches. You don't try to
Yep.
make someone from your team become that and fill their shoes, because that is very rarely going to work. And no
Yep.
matter how much you think it's going to be a great idea and you're going to give opportunity to someone else from your team to learn new things, people don't want to do it. People are not interested in that,
And
unfortunately.
it comes down to what they enjoy. So,
Yeah.
like, they might be good at an account management position and they might really enjoy that, so they excel in that category. But if you put them in a position where they are in sales and they don't enjoy sales, they're going to naturally not do as well. So, you have to take people from that niche, exactly what you were saying, and take them and put them in a position for success where they actually enjoy their job, so that
Yeah.
way they can eventually go out and do something amazing. Because without that, if they don't enjoy what they do on a daily basis, your employees are not going to be happy. They're not going to want to show up to work. They're not going to want to show up. And you have an 80-person company, so you know this better than anyone, that you as the entrepreneur, you have to make sure that they enjoy what they're doing, or they're not going to want
Yeah.
to show up to work. And then
Yeah.
you get lower quality and everything else. So
Yeah, and that's a very
uh-huh, yeah.
good it's a really good point, because a lot of times we forget what is it that these people enjoy and what you think they will enjoy.
Mhm.
And then those two things are not all the time the same, or like on the same level, and then you just
Mhm.
completely you demotivate that person, and
Mhm.
that's it. And you think you're doing well for them, and you're actually not. And that
True.
happened to me so many times,
Mhm.
because I've like, I've recognized the talent, and then I'm like, well, no, did not recognize it. I actually destroyed my relationship with this person because I thought it was going to be good for them, and then at the end they're like, you know what, I don't want to do it. I want to go back to, I don't know, being a translator, or I want to go back to working in administration or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's also one of my challenges.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure there's hidden talent in any team, but it's very hard to recognize it, like the right side with people that they will also be happy with.
And it's like as a previous entrepreneur, it was so hard for me to so I would always realize, like, I would always communicate and making sure what do they enjoy on a daily basis, but you might have a huge gap in your operations, like for a department manager or something else,
Mhm.
and where you know what they want to do, but operationally you need someone there right away or you're
Yeah.
gonna die. And like you have to like communicate saying like, hey, I'm sorry you don't enjoy this, but I need you temporarily there or I'm going
Yeah.
to die as
I
a
need.
person. So it's a very big pitfall for both of you because you like there's a lot of people that may not be enjoying a department head or something else like that and
Yeah.
managing a team. And even though they might be good at it, but they don't enjoy it. So you have to realize the difference. Someone might be good at something but hate what they do, and you have to realize that, and you have to put someone in that position pretty quick or they will quit. No matter if they're good at it or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they don't enjoy it, they will quit. And it's very hard as the leader saying, wow, they are so good at this, but I have to take them out of it because they don't enjoy it. It's very, very hard, but you eventually have to make that decision or they will quit on their own. So it's very, very hard thing to do, but it's something that you have to make that decision at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So that's something that I haven't been always successful with. I would say that
Mhm.
I failed more than I was successful with,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I mean, it's okay to admit, like failures are fine. You just I
Mhm.
mean, I haven't learned a lot from those mistakes. I have to admit, like, people learn from their mistakes. Well, I still haven't learned a lot from those mistakes. I hope I will in future, maybe with some other business, but I still kind of fail in it's to recognize what people from my team could do, with what they have, because I know they have great potential, but I
Mhm.
just don't recognize that as good. So if anybody out there recognizes it better, just hit me up. Maybe you can
Yeah.
work for us as an advisor.
Yes, and I almost experience for me is not as important as passion. So like
Yeah,
I would almost always take someone that has zero experience, which is crazy to say.
yeah,
I would rather take
absolutely.
someone zero
Yeah,
experience but love what they do and saying, "Hey
yeah,
Victor, I want to get started in copywriting and I really enjoy it to do it on a day-to-day basis. Can you teach me and go through that process?" And I would almost always go through that because you might get someone that has a lot of experience but they only just do their job. You don't want
they just
someone
do
that
their
just
job,
does their
exactly.
job
They
because
don't they don't
yeah,
give the little extra, like, yeah, because they're not
mhm,
passionate. I couldn't agree
exactly.
more. And also, like, I've hired some people who like had less experience than some of the like more impressive CVs, talking
Mhm,
about project managers and account managers at YLT. And just because I like the person, I like the passion, you can see the sparkle in their eyes. They're like,
yeah,
like, this is great. And honestly, I did not make a bad mistake, but because all these people are still doing phenomenally well,
yeah,
and I don't regret getting a passionate hire. Really,
mhm,
I think that's they have this little. They would always put this little more extra effort, and you will see that it means to them, and
true.
also because they get an opportunity, because they know that of course you could have hired somebody else,
Yep,
but they're gonna like do much more
mhm.
because you've given them the opportunity. Absolutely.
And like it's also the learning aspect
Yeah.
when you believe in someone that has zero experience and you say, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to believe in this person. I'm going to train them up. And they become so much more loyal to you as a person that they go,
Yeah.
wow, like that I was trained up from nothing. He trained me to go through this entire process. And if they like, because I have the philosophy, if someone goes somewhere else, if I train someone, they go somewhere else, like I'm excited for them. That means they got an opportunity somewhere else where they
Yeah.
think they are going to enjoy it more. And I'm super pumped for them. I seriously am. I invest in them as a person, not as an
Hmm.
employee. I care about the
Right. Right.
relationship because what ends up happening is they go like, hey, Victor, I try to go work for someone else, but compared to you, culture wise, it doesn't compare. So I'm gonna come back to you.
Yeah.
So that's what always happens because I can easily say like, oh, how could you leave me like and be super toxic? But I'm all about the relationship. I don't care what happens in the next year, 3 years, 5 years. I care what happens in the next 10 years. So
Right.
they're gonna come back to me and say, hey, Victor, you're awesome. I want to come work for you in the next 5 years. That's awesome. So like I'm I'm all about relationships, the long-term value of relationships. I don't care if it affects me short term. I could care less. And that's kind of the philosophy I go behind because I know the power of relationships and how you're only one relationship away from changing your life. So that's the
Oh,
biggest thing for me.
100%. I'm
Mhm.
all about relationships, and I think that it's just this is why I like talking to people, because you never know who you're gonna meet, and you never know who's gonna change your life. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that your life is gonna change that very day or that same hour, but you don't know like how much impact someone is gonna have on you in the next 10 years, and like so. I just really think that building relationships with also, as you said, like your employees and other people is one of
Mhm.
the most important things for me.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And when it comes down, like for me as a previous entrepreneur, I had a lot of pitfalls. I knew my strengths and weaknesses. So for example, I am really good at video communication, like speaking through words. But if you
Yeah.
get me to try to type an email, it is going to be like I have the grammar of a like obviously you're gonna hate to hear this because you're a copy person, but I have the grammar of like a seventh grader. But when it comes to if you were to say, hey Victor, can you communicate
Right.
this via words?
Yeah.
I do exceptional. I can communicate that way. And I had to learn that, hey, I can take the same message, put it in word form, and through my own words, through my mouth, it performs a lot better. That's the communicator I'm at. And those are some of the pitfalls I had to learn. And I also learned I'm not a very organized person. I love the chaos within my brain. So when it comes to super dynamic situations like this, these are all these conversations I'm having were not pre-planned. They just come to my head. So
Yeah.
I'm a very dynamic person. I'm able to say things very well because I am a very fast thinker. But if you were to say, "Hey Victor, I need you to create an organized webinar schedule," oh my gosh, that's gonna be horrible.
That's
I would not
hilarious.
watch that. I would not. If you said to make an organized one, it would be horrible. But conversation wise, that it's like actually coming up. That's where I excel. So my weaknesses, I'm not very organized. Strengths, I can handle the chaos. I'm very dynamic.
Hmm.
I can
Yeah.
change the conversation based off any scenario. So
Yeah, you can
that
improvise a lot. Right. Yeah.
exactly.
That's
So
also something that a lot of people can't do.
yeah,
So.
true. And I'd love to hear what are your strengths or weaknesses if you did like usually through the entrepreneurial journey, you have to figure that out. Either that or you won't be a
Yeah,
successful entrepreneur. So
absolutely.
I'd love to
Yeah.
get your thoughts on saying like, hey, I usually suck at this, but I'm awesome at this. Like, do you know what some of your strengths and failures are?
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. And I think that if you the sooner you admit this to yourself, the better it will be for your relationships, your business, for basically everything. Because it's not a failure to admit that you have weaknesses, of course,
True.
And if you think you don't have them, then you do have a very big problem because
Yeah.
everyone has
Oh
weaknesses.
yeah.
Yeah. So for instance, like one of my let's start with strengths. So I think that one of my strengths is just I like talking to people a lot. I think I'm a good I'm a social butterfly, and I
Mhm.
love talking to people, and I'm out and about, and this is what I just enjoy, and that gives me energy. So I like, I like that. I like being around people and I like talking about business, anything. I think I can talk about any topic and I think I can find mutual language with almost everyone. I think that's my strength. So that's why I like sales and I like, like
Mhm.
talking to people in person as well. Also like doing the webinars and podcasts and all of that. And my weaknesses, there are many, but I would say one of my weaknesses is like I'm not great with money at all.
Yeah.
And my accounting department was a mess for a long time. And I didn't care about it. Like I was just gonna use money and like not even keep track of it. Like it
Mhm.
was just a big mess. And then it was not until I think 2 years ago when we got an offer. Somebody wanted to buy YLT, and then I'm like, okay, well, I've never done I don't have a company deck. Let's do it. Let's do the pitch deck. And then I'm like, oh, like we need to get these numbers in order. And I was like, oh my god. And then that was like literally 3 worst weeks of my life, just working with my accountant and like doing everything with my assistant and everyone just were like living and breathing the numbers and all of that and all the invoices and everything we've done wrong. And I hate it so bad. But now we've established the operation and now it works itself. But I'm usually also my private life, I'm not good with money. I will
Mhm.
just like not care. It's like overspend, whatever. I'm just like, I'm gonna make more money. That's my mantra, my mojo, whatever.
Mhm.
So and that also reflected my business in a very bad way.
Yeah. It,
So yeah,
I'm right there with you. I am right
yeah.
there with you. And because I would value the relationship so much that I think I was thinking such long term. Like for example, I would go to a conference, I would spend like 5K for a ticket, which is very expensive.
Yeah.
And like because I valued the relationship so much, but financially short term, it doesn't make sense. But long term, over the next 10 years, it does. So I
Yeah.
needed to have someone in my business, a CFO, that would
Hmm.
say no to me was my biggest
Yeah.
downfall. Like I
Yes.
need someone to say, "Hey, Victor, no, you can't go to that conference. I'm not allowing you to." So
Yeah. 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 Also,
I eventually needed
I
that
needed like
person.
I needed an allowance
Yes, I
from
need you to
yeah.
control me so
Yes.
that way
Exactly.
I don't want people to just say yes, okay, go do that. It's like no, like you can't. Like it's not physically possible. So I needed having those employees that are willing to say no to you are very very powerful because
Oh yeah.
if someone is good enough to provide criticism for you, like I always say to my employees saying, "Hey, if I suck at something and it needs to be better, just let me know and let's fix it right away." And just I'm
Yeah.
trying to get better as a person. And right there,
Hmm.
they say, "Oh wow, I can tell Victor anything at that point. Like, hey Victor, you suck at A, B, and C. Like Victor, you can do better on this. Cool, let's do it. Let's fix it. Let's get it better." And because that makes it where they can be super vulnerable with me and say, "Hey, like we need to work on A, B, and C," and
Hmm.
that way I get better. And that ability to be that truthful to someone is so powerful and
Yeah.
you strengthen your relationship so much more because rather
Absolutely.
than going tippy-toeing with like sugar coating and crap, like you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
want to do
Yeah.
that. You don't want to do that.
I need someone to get real with me. Yeah, I
Yes.
need that. I need that a lot. And
Sugar
also remember, yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
recording, yeah, doesn't do anyone good. And I remember another thing, which is also, of course, connected with money, is that I suck at giving quotes. Like I'm the worst person because I'm like, yeah, let's do like 140. Yeah, it's fine. No, 125. I'm just like, and then my COO, she stops and she's like, no, 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 no. Have you checked our P&Ls like last month? You can't do this. And then I was like, who made this quote? I'm like, and she was like, you did. I'm like, oh my God. So I don't do that anymore. I'm like, what I think that also like one of my strengths is that I can hire people who are smarter and better than me for
Mhm.
certain things. And I'm
Yep.
not ashamed to say, like, okay, I suck at quoting or I suck at this or that,
Mhm.
but I'm going to hire someone who's going to be the smartest like person in this room to do that.
Mhm.
And this person will work for me and she will be better than me because I really don't have to deal with that. So I hire people who are smarter than me and then I don't have to deal with those things
And
anymore.
and I would say that is the number one reason why entrepreneurs never scale is because they're perfectionists. They get their ego tied up and they say,
Oh,
"Oh, I can
absolutely.
do it better than any other person. So I'm just going to do
Yeah.
it real fast. And they just do
Right.
that a
Not real
million times.
fast.
I'm just going to do it real fast. I'm just going to do it real
Yes,
fast. I'm just going to do
exactly.
it real fast. And
Yeah.
then they say it so many times, but you have to realize that, hey, you suck at most people suck at most things.
A
And
lot. A lot of things.
when someone enjoys a particular niche of what they do, they're going to do way better than anything I could do. So, for example, graphic design. I am awful at graphic design. So there's a million people
I
that
didn't even try
specialize in
that.
graphic design and can do it 1,000 times better than me in graphic design. So that's where you have to realize, hey, I suck at A, B, and C, and then
Yes.
hiring the people for your weaknesses. But when you are a perfectionist, when you get your ego tied up saying, oh, I'm good at everything, then you are going to fail. Like it's without a doubt, you're going to burn out. You're going to fail as an entrepreneur. But once you say, hey,
100%.
I suck at this and this and this, I need
You'll
to hire
sleep
that
better.
out, you're
You'll
going to do
sleep
awesome.
better. Yes.
Yes.
You sleep better, you're gonna have less anxiety because it's okay. It's okay to admit your weaknesses. And that's yeah, and talking about delegating, I mean, it took me a year and a half to actually delegate something to someone because I was like, I was burned out so bad. I was working as everyone like 20 hours a day, and and then I was like, I need a vacation. And I'm like, if I go on vacation, I can't work. And then what am I going to do? And that was my first time I was delegating to someone. That I came back from the vacation 2 weeks later, I still had plans, like things were still happening. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do this again and again and again and again. And this is when I scaled my company to 30 people in 2 months because I just started delegating absolutely everything, writing procedures, and it just changed my life. And I think that a lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs that I know, they have teams as big as, I don't know, 10, 12 people. And I think that's the bottleneck. Like, this is where you get stuck and you don't scale more because you don't know how. And then you just go and build another company and another company, another company, but they all don't go over like 10 people. Instead of making this like big ass company with like hundred of employees, you just go and like do small things and smaller scale because you don't know how to delegate. And that's a big showstopper, honestly.
Yeah. And it all comes down to self-realization
Yeah.
of, I think that's the biggest, and that's where entrepreneurs they're forced to go through that process. Either that or you're screwed. Like any
Yeah.
other job that you get, you can suck at most things and still get away with it. But as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, as you're trying to scale a company, there's nothing you can do about it. Like it's either you hire people or you're dead. it's literally
Yeah.
it's one or
You
the
have
other.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to hire. Yeah. And it's exactly what you said. Like, we're all perfectionists, and nobody's gonna do this job as good as you. But at the end of the day, what's important is, like, does this job does it get done? Like, does it get done on time? Do you, as a service provider, does it get delivered on time to clients? That's all that matters,
Yeah.
really. And it's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be as amazing as you're gonna do it, but are you gonna have, like, how much is your free time worth? Like, what I think about is, like, okay, so how much is worth an hour of my time if I go and like answer this random person that came to my chat on my website? Should I be doing this? No, because my hour is worth, I don't know, $500.
Yeah.
So I'm currently using $500 on answering a random person came to my chat myself. Or I could have used this time to grow my business and then hire someone who's going to be on chat with this person. And that really, when you kind of think about that, like, how much is your time worth?
Yeah.
That changes a lot of things, at least for me, when I started thinking that way.
Yeah. And like, what's interesting, as human beings, time is the most valuable thing that we have, but it's the thing we value the least.
Exactly.
We're so careful about what we give our money away to, but we give away our time to basically anything, like scrolling on TikTok for 3 hours. Like,
right?
like those 3 hours, you could accomplish a lot of things, but we're just going away. So
and then you're like, look at the time, it's 6 p.m. And you're like, and it's always like that. Yeah.
True. And you have to be very careful on what you're allocating your time to. And I didn't realize how much I have accomplished as a person until I make videos, like overviews of my life, of the life progress that I'm doing. And if you were to ask me before I made that video of my life progress video, I'm like, oh yeah, I worked a little bit. I mean, I did some stuff. That's really all I would say. But after I made that video, I'm like, holy crap, I spent every
Right?
hour of my time working, and I accomplished a lot of things in that time. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, it comes to time allocation. I could have spent my time watching Netflix. I could have spent my time playing video games all day. These are the things but instead I allocated my time to working, mainly because I'm crazy and I have to work, but mainly because I was able to work rather than working on distractions. That's the reasoning why I was able to be successful, is because of time allocation. So exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying. It's very important to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that's very valuable. It sounds like we have a lot of the same skill sets. And then going on to like Amazon, so it sounds like you are enemies with Google Translate, mainly because Google
Oh,
Translate sucks. And I bet you
yeah.
get that like all the time. It's like, hey, what's the difference between you and Google Translate?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So it's might as
story
well
of my
start out
life.
with that, because I know you're gonna start cursing at something.
Yes, yes. We don't like Google Translate. We don't like machine translations, and it always it always amazes me. Like you have so many successful Amazon sellers, for instance, they're doing 8, 9 figures on the U.S. marketplace, and they have all these crazy strategies, teams, and all of that, and then they launch their products on other international marketplaces, like non-English ones, and they just
Yeah.
fail miserably. And I'm like, what were you thinking? And one of my favorite questions that I get from them all the time is like,
Mhm.
so Amazon did this translation for us. Of course, it was a machine translation, and we do the audit, and we're like, no, this is horrible. Like it's like barely comprehensible. And then they're like, what do you mean? Like there are no keywords in there? And I'm like, it's a machine translation. How can you get keywords in it? Like we're not living in like 20, I don't know, 2070, when we will have AI programs that will maybe become like better in time with
Mhm.
better content. But right now, if you have Google Translate machine, it's free. Why do you think you will have keywords in it? Like, I
Yeah.
was like, it's a no-brainer for me, right? And I was like, how would you think that? So, a lot of times, like the machines and all of that is, they recognize the words, but they don't put it in the context. That's
True.
the biggest problem. And there's like tons of problems you have with that. And then people also put in their keywords, and then they translate keywords with Google Translate. And they also don't know that every marketplace is different. And then, one keyword doesn't have to be a keyword on another marketplace. It doesn't have to even to be a different language. But
True.
UK and US marketplaces are completely different. And
Yeah.
we recently had a client, she was selling baby diapers in the US.
Mhm.
And she just took that content, copy pasted for Amazon UK, and she got ranked for a completely wrong product, because diapers, like in the UK, they use word diapers for adult diapers, and she was selling kids products.
Really?
So she was like, why is this happening? And she should have used the word nappy, and the keywords were nowhere close to being the same, because like in the US she would use diapers, changing station. You don't have changing stations like that in the UK, so it's basically worthless
Yeah.
keyword. And bunch of other things like baby shower gifts. Like UK is not really big on baby showers like that, and it's just like a whole new world, even though it's all English. So just imagine what happens when you have like different languages and different localizing aspects and different consumers. And why would you think that a machine translation knows that?
True. Yeah.
They just translate, they see a word, they translate word by word. They don't translate a full sentence. Of course, no keywords, nothing. So a lot of times it sounds like a little mumbo jumbo, and it really doesn't make any sense. The
Yeah.
only time I would say that Google Translate would make some sense is with highly highly technical translations. Like if that's something like super techy, like I don't know, HDMI cable part, spare part for I don't know what else, server, this and that, because those are basically just words. It doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to sound good in a sentence. This is when you can use Google Translate, because they're surprisingly very accurate when it comes to high tech details. But when it comes to storytelling, your brand, any type of like message you want to convey, it doesn't make any sense. And there are tons of things that could be very offensive to other people. And I remember we had like this bikini, was a blue bikini for plus size women, and they did a translation for the Italian marketplace. So the title said bikini, whatever, blah blah blah, and then at the end it was like this, like, you know, what was the size, like for you know, was to be plus size women, but the translation said for fat women. It
Yeah,
said
that's
dona grosso, it means fat women, and that was
wow.
terrible. And the reviews were just like, they were just tearing them down in the reviews. It was so bad, and there's like tons of like other examples, and I mean most of them are hilarious. And I
Mhm.
remember I also like did a short presentation on that, and it was like the brand, I think it was like Phillips or Brown, like some of those, and it was a shaver for legs, like a hair like shaver,
Mhm.
and it was German, and they tend to use keywords, but they I just saw that they literally um just wrote something in Google Translate, and then they translated to just a new language, which was German. And then the second keyword in the title, which would be like the most important keywords for the product, they got it said lawnmower, because
Yeah.
Rasenmäher is a lawnmower, but I mean you cannot use it for the shaver for your legs. So
Mhm.
they were basically really not doing a great job with that, and you can really damage your product that way, because you can
Yeah.
be ranked for completely random products that you don't want to be ranked for. You ruin that honeymoon period, which means you Amazon gives you more than you deserve, and so on. So
Yeah.
you know, it's you can do a lot of damage, more damage than good. And you know, like if you think about it, whatever you see it's for free, it's basically gonna cost you a lot at the end, such as all these machine translation.
Yeah.
And I just have to mention the AI, because AI is like kind of getting in every chapter of any area of our lives, I think. AI this and AI that. And
Mhm.
it's really interesting to see that it's also, of course, something that you know, we answer these questions about the AI and content and all that. So I would say that AI is basically good for creating new content like from scratch. It's also something good that new copywriters can learn, just to see like how they combine the keywords and all that. But if it comes to translations using AI, and a lot of big translation agencies, they use AI. But the thing is that this AI would not stick to the source text. So they will just translate whatever they think it's relevant. So, and if you say like, okay, our key features of this product are that it's 100% bamboo and eco-friendly, and it
Mhm.
has two handles, which not all competitors have, maybe this AI will be like, this is what we think is going to be relevant. So
Yeah.
it's really not good, because you're going to get like 40% of what you it was important for you from the text. So
Mhm.
there's still a long way for these AI tools to be perfected, and I'm sure they will get there at one point. But I don't think that even then you could compare that to a real live human translation of a person that is from that country, knows the people, knows you know, the mentality, and knows how to connect, and you want to connect with your consumers in another
Yeah.
country. So I don't think that machine is never going to be able to recognize that.
True. Yeah, there's always room for optimization there. And then we actually have a question from Nathan Hans, right here. So he says, "Saw your website. It's great to see that you really have native speakers as your translators. What made you decide to build your company? Very interested to know that. So, what really
Mhm.
got you started to like and wanted you to build your company?"
So, well, first of all, I wanted to build something on my own. And I knew I was capable of that, because I was a COO of a very big e-commerce. I had like 400 people, and I was undervalued by my ex-boss, which I now thank him for being an asshole, because he made me realize that I should be getting more than what I was, you know, I deserved more.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, like I deserve more, and I don't need anyone else to value me for that. I'm gonna create something for myself, and this is going to be like what I deserve. And this
That's
is how
awesome.
I kind of got the idea. And then I saw the problem like with the listings on Amazon, and I was like, I don't think a lot of people are doing this, you know, that good. And this was like 12 years ago. This is when the first buy box showed, and I was like, what is this? And just gonna learn everything. And I
Mhm.
just saw the potential in that. I always wanted to do something with languages, so I just thought that this is something that the market needs, and
Yeah.
this is something that I have a lot of knowledge about, and I can train people, and we can really offer something good, and people can see results. Basically, that we can translate your listings into sales. basically.
Yeah.
So I just found a niche that I thought it was good. There were competitors, but not as many. And I just thought that we could do much better. And I just kind of started believing in myself, which was something that I did not think that I had it in me before. And that's it. I just really wanted to combine something I was really passionate about, which was e-commerce and languages. And I think that if I hadn't had like these two passions, I don't think I would have been so persistent, and that I
Mhm.
would have kind of given up and just went back to a 9 to 5 office job, I think. But it's the passion that kept me going, and
That's
that's it.
awesome. Yeah, and the audience, if you have any other questions, just let me know. And then, Jana, is there anything else that you find important that you've been wanting to try to communicate, whether if it is in Amazon or like entrepreneurial wise that you've been having issues with that you're trying to tackle? Is there anything else that you'd like to communicate?
Yeah, well, I'm just as I said, like I was struggling to recognize other, talents in my team members. I recognize wrong ones. That's kind of it's an ongoing, the repeating process. But basically, it's also about finding the right salespeople. I think that's very, very important. This is also something I struggle with.
Yeah.
Also, what I struggle with is also because I am the face of my company, then that's fine. But sometimes I cannot be. I mean, I travel all the time and I try to be at all the important things and conferences, all that. But I would also want to push other team members to also become faces of the company as well, so that the company does not always rely on myself.
Yeah.
And this is something which I've seen that all other people also struggle with, and they stay the face of their company. But I just kind of think that, if I manage to build a team of 82 in three and a
Mhm.
half years, that I can definitely push other people into being the faces of the company, but I haven't just found the right people to do that. So this is also something I'm struggling with. And yeah, and definitely we're a fully remote team, and that also has its own struggles as well. But I can talk about that in another episode. But like
Mhm.
how to manage a full remote team, which has its challenges, of course, and it's way different when you have an office when people come, when they feel like they have to work, and all of the COVID thing, it's gonna got people to be very spoiled and underperforming and whatever. So yeah, this is what I've been dealing with for the last 3.5 years. So I mean, there's a lot that I've learned, like tons of things. And yeah, I mean, I now know when I start a new business, I exactly know what I would have done different. I would have not also like I also think that you should not get too close with your employees, like not to be like too friend, like you should be friendly, you should not be a prick, right, to your employees, but you should
Mhm.
not be super friendly, and you should not get attached to people a lot, because a lot of them are only there to work for you. They respect you, but if a new opportunity comes, then if you get attached, then I just had to learn not to take things too personally. That was also like one of my really important
Yes.
things that I've learned.
So like for me, I always so me showing my personal life, I didn't know what the result was going to be, but they actually were. I showed like a video what I do in my free time, the very little free time I do have, that 1 or 2 hours I did
Yeah.
to myself. Um, I play volleyball, I country dance, like I do a lot of things. I do one fun thing per day, and like me showing my personal life gave them a more attachment to me, which
Hmm.
strengthened my relationship with them. So personally, I don't believe in professionalism. I think professionalism is just a filter of the true person of who you are. And I hate filters. So that's why I'm always very personable with people. So
Hmm.
that way I build that connection, a stronger connection with that person, which solidifies and make it where they stay longer. And you have to think, I don't care about what happens in the next 2 years. I don't care what's going to happen in the next 10 years. And when someone leaves, I don't take it personal because you have to remember I don't care. You have to think about it from their perspective. They probably say, "Oh, hey, I'm trying to earn more money or whatever is here." And at the end of the day, people will only make decisions based off what makes them happy long term. So
Right.
if,
No,
if
absolutely.
if they go somewhere and they're happier there, awesome. I am genuinely happy for them. If they found a job that makes them happier, better culture, better everything, that is awesome. But usually 99% of the time, the job they go to has a worse culture, toxic culture,
Oh
sucks to
yeah,
work at,
absolutely.
and they may make
Yeah.
more. And then they always come back and say, "Hey, Victor, your culture's awesome. I want to come back. I want to work together with you." And I'm cool. Like I always
Yeah.
leave the door open, saying, "Hey." I like
Same.
when a good employee leaves, I say, "Hey," I create like a custom video. I really literally record and say, "Hey, thank you so much for your work. You're awesome. I just want you to know you're always welcome back. You're amazing, and I hope you have amazing day. I hope you go off and do amazing things." And when I send that video, most of them don't even leave. They say, "Victor, I cried during what you sent. I'm not going to leave. I'm not even going to worry about it."
Yeah.
And then they
Yeah,
end up
I'm the
staying
same.
just because of the video. For the people that do end up leaving, I had such a strong impression on them that they wanted to stay regardless, or they always end up coming back. So
Mhm.
like I'm not doing that as a tactic. I'm doing that because I genuinely care for them. I really do. I genuinely
Yeah,
care for them as
same.
a person.
Same.
Yeah.
I
So
do. Yeah.
that's how I separate that attachment. I'm at the end of the day, I'm genuinely happy for them for wherever they go, if they make more, if they're happier, wherever it may be. And that is my philosophy on how I don't get hurt by the situation, that I get happy for them.
Yeah. No. I agree. I never get like upset with anyone
Mhm.
quitting. I always, I'm absolutely on the same page with you. I always say like, of course, if you need any recommendations, anything, I'm always open to like sending all of those recommendation letters. And then I always, but always say like, our door is always open for you. If you decide to come back, would love to have you back. Thank you for the amazing work. What I also do is like when we get feedbacks from clients, I say like I tag people because we use Slack, and they're like, "Thank you guys for an amazing job. Like this client is so happy." Then I say like, "Blah blah blah. This is for you. Thank you." And they're like, "Wow." It's like also like when it's
Appreciation.
also like when I interview people, we send a thank you email to every one of them because you know how people like. I never heard from these guys. They never got back to me. I really pay attention to these details because this is what matters and this is what's going to differentiate your company from other ones they
Yep.
don't they which don't care. And also like I have a Google Doc which has like because earlier I would know everyone. I mean, not no, I mean virtually no, but I would know like where they live, if they have boyfriends, husbands, blah blah. Now there's like a lot of people, but what I do is like I have a Google sheet. I have their birthdays, I have their dog names, I have this or this, blah blah. And then when I need something, maybe I need something urgent, and I'm like, hey, so how are you doing? And then I ask like, how's your dog, or how's your mom, or whatever, and like happy birthday. We always give like we send gifts. We have like the baby packages and all of that. It's
That's
like those
awesome.
tiny things that these employees they're like, oh wow, well I matter to this company.
Yeah.
And yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like company culture is something which is so important. And us being a translation agency, and I know how other translation agencies use, they're very like everything is automated. It's like all black and white. There's like no personal um engagement with anyone.
That's how
And
most
we're
companies
here
are.
very kind of
Mhm.
yeah, we're kind of very active. We have like the meetings, the calls, team buildings, all of that. And that makes people even though it's a remote team, they feel like they belong somewhere, and then they're very valued. Because for my previous work, what I've said to myself is like, I'm gonna be a boss that I never want to be like my ex boss who didn't care about his employees, who never got who never said anything nice or like give an appraisal when they needed it. And this is something that I always do, and people really appreciate it because they feel very appreciated. And then they would always go and work for us. And this is also what they've been telling me, that translation agencies can be very robotic, and it's not,
Mhm.
like it doesn't feel like that there's
Mhm.
friendly atmosphere there, or that they matter. Because a lot of times you're like, here's a doc translated by, you're like you're a human tool, right?
Yeah.
And here we value people as they are. So I just think that
Mhm.
it's really important to build a good company culture and to build a good team.
You
And I
said
think
you
that
said something
differentiates you from others.
Yeah, you said something amazing about belonging. That's really amazing that like they really find that sense of belonging. And I don't think
Yeah.
I've heard that before, but you're really right. Once you find a really good team that you identify with their identity, it becomes so much stronger. And then also goes through like appreciation, what you're saying. As an entrepreneur, sometimes you always get caught up in the fires, meaning that, oh, hey person, hey Nate, can you
Yeah.
please fix A, B, and C? Hey, other person, can you fix A, B, and C? Can you fix this? Can you fix this?
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
You're fixing. You're in a constant state of fixing that you have to like step back for a second and say, okay, wow, I need to say thank you, and then say I love you. Thank you for all that you're doing. You rock. And it takes a second because you're in a constant state of fixing that you're all over the place that you forget to just step back for a second and say, wow, thank you for doing everything. And sometimes you have to remember and appreciate others, because the employees don't have to work for you. They chose to work for you. And you have to remember that and appreciate, thank you for coming up to work. Thank you for showing up to work. I appreciate you for that. And you have to remember that and show some appreciation, because no one has to work for you. It's a privilege.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? How I see like that people really like and enjoy working for us, because we have this random channel in our social media manager. She does these like tons of like really great posts on our page. By the way, like our page on Facebook and LinkedIn, tons of good content. And then every once in a while, she's like, "Hey guys, so what's your favorite movie we did for a post?" Or "What's your favorite word in the language?" or blah, blah, blah. And then like 25 people answer, and they don't have to. They were just like, who cares? I don't know how to do it. But all of them answer. This is how I see that they actually want to be there, because they use their free time to answer a random message that's not even for me. It's from our social media manager to make a post, and so that's just great. And I tend to also involve them. Like we had like an interview with the German translator. She was like talking about this or that. They do interviews. We have like different videos with the team, like meet the team. This is who people are. Loyalty is all about people, and they seem to enjoy it. And because you just kind of put the face to the employee, like to the translator, they're like real people, and they have amazing things to say. And then I just think that they also feel like, oh well, since he chose me to speak like on a video, I must be very important. And then they appreciate it a lot. And then I remember there was our Spanish translation. She was just like, I showed this to my sister and to my friend, and and I was like really happy about that.
That's
to
awesome.
Hear something like that. Yeah.
That is really amazing. And the fact that you appreciate that so much tells like everyone, like tells us about your character more than anything. That like a lot of people like in business, they'll show off, oh, this is how much money I made, and then you can really sense of what their values are. But the thing for me in my business that I was so proud of was my culture. Like that was the number one thing that I would always show that off no matter what. It doesn't matter how many clients I have, how much revenue was generated. It like that didn't matter. I was completely like, I literally could care less. I'm not a financial person. I could care less. And it really just mattered. Okay. Like how good is our culture? That is my value. So that way, no matter what happens in business, that those people will always weather the storm, no matter what crap gets thrown my way. I'm not going to make a decision based off the financial effort off of it. I'm going to do it based off the relationship. And that makes it where long-term it's very successful. So yeah. But yes, unfortunately that's all we had time for today. So we talked through a lot. We talked about some failures and wins. We talked through a lot of employment culture. And then we went through a little bit of Amazon in there, and we went through a lot. So Jana, thank you so much for coming on. Please tell them how to find you, whether it's LinkedIn, your website. Please tell the audience how to find you.
Yeah, so guys, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. That's my favorite social platform. And you can definitely visit the website, ylt-translations.com. We do tons of things, everything related to content, everything related to e-commerce, especially Amazon. And you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm always available on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to hop on a call or anything you need.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me.